So I'm super excited today. I'm going to have two videos for you, one this afternoon and then one later this evening. My first one is going to be for Eileen, who is Scrapmazing on YouTube. You can go find her. She is just the sweetest. And she has had her YouTube channel for a year, so she's having a little sketch contest using a sketch that she created, and she asked me if I'd play along, and I said, absolutely. So what I decided to do was, her sketch calls for 6 photos. If you watch my channel a lot, you know that I never scrapbook with 6 photos. So I got 3. So I have 3 photos from my son's field trip, and then I'm going to use the other places on the sketch for journaling boxes and a little bit of extra embellishment. So we're still working on school layouts. This is another school layout. I'll have another one for you this evening. Lots of school layouts in September. I decided that for this layout I really wanted to use the Little by Little collection from Shamel. I thought that it has a lot of elements that would be really fun for some school photos, and I also have a photo, in one of these photos my son is sticking his hand into the mouth of a stuffed bear, and I'm like, bears, yes! Bears are awesome. And there's bears in the Little by Little collection. Ha! Perfect. So that's what I'm doing here. Right now I'm just deciding I'm going to cut some background papers for my photos.
Sorry, I'm texting with my cousin.
Goofy kids. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Let's get back to the layout. So what I'm doing here is my photos are a little bit bigger. So the photos in the sketch are kind of square, and mine are going to be 3 by 4. So I know that I want to use a journaling box, so I'm grabbing this one because it has a bear on it. And these are the colors that I'm going to use on this layout. So I chose this black and white pattern paper because it was I wanted a pattern paper background for this layout, but I also had a lot of really busy ones, and this was the only one that I had left that wasn't busy, which means white cardstock it is for the rest of this collection. But oh well, that's okay. I love my white cardstock. So I'm just choosing things now, and I'm kind of just flipping through. I do a lot of this during this video, kind of just going through this collection. This collection, I have used so much of it that it's like there's a lot of scraps, and so I really wanted to kind of use up some of those scraps. So I grabbed all the scraps that I thought, all the things that were already cut that I thought, you know, that I could go ahead and use on this layout that were the colors I was going for. And yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of have a play here, kind of get everything settled, decide what I want to do, and then we'll get to work on things like journaling and embellishing, and things like that. And I'm gonna flip here I decided to flip from one side of my desk to the others because I felt like the screen, I was worried that my camera was focusing, that it was focusing on the products and not instead of my layout, so I wanted to kind of move my products over a little bit so I could still pull from them and they would be off to my left instead of off to my right. Plus, sometimes if my products end up off to my right, I end up accidentally knocking them into my garbage can, and that can be slightly irritating, especially if I don't notice it. So for each of these photos, I have these 3 pattern papers. The star one, the one with the raindrops, and the one that has these like paint strokes on it. And so I am making sure that each photo has a little bit of all 3 of those patterns peeking out from under it, so that we have a little bit of continuity, and even though it's not in the same order or at the same spots, those 3 patterns, I decided to have them repeat through my layout. So I'm just going to give the bear a little trim here. We had a little bit of the other cut aparts on him. And then I think the next thing I'm going to work on is my title card at the top. I want to back it, and I want to back it with a piece of paper that is exactly the same size as my photos. So I know my photos are 3.5 by 5, so I'm going to cut this mat at 3.5 by 5, and then I'm just going to kind of embellish around. And as it turns out, I end up needing more room than what's on that journaling card for my journaling. So it comes in handy that I have that little bit of extra space below. And then again, I want those same 3 patterns. So I backed the bear with the paint stroke paper, and now I'm using those raindrops and the star paper again behind that photo. So all 3 of my pictures in my journaling box has that on it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and grab my favorite Muji pen and do my journaling. And then when I run out of room, I'm going to go into the 6x6 pad, because of course when you buy a 6x6 pad, in this collection, in most of Chamel's collections, they have the cut apart sheets in the 6x6 pad. So I'm going to go search out one of those little cut apart sheets that will help match my collection. And I find it pretty quickly. I think, yep, there it is. So I'm going to take this little one that looks like, that's that same, it's actually the same one that I placed, the big size I placed above the camera. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish up this last little bit of journaling, and then I'm going to tuck it under the journaling card below so that I have it to go. So yeah, just finishing that up, and then I'm going to pop it underneath. And then the next thing I need to work on is my title before I start to embellish. So next up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my T-Scroll ruler to help get my title nice and centered. And then I'm going to leave the gap there between my 2 words. So my 2 words, my title is going to be Field Trip Adventure. And I left that space between field and trip because I want to put a little bit of embellishment between the 2 words. And then I'm going to use this foam white adventure as part of my title. And it's going to stick really bad to the backing paper. I think these stickers might have an expiration date. So this collection isn't really old. So if you have it, you might want to, these stickers, you might want to get them out and start to use them up, because mine are really, really starting to like adhere to the backer paper. And so I really had to work hard to get them off. So I'm going to go ahead and add those. And now I decide I'm going to grab these foam, because this was mostly determined by the fact that that adventure came up so hard. And I was thinking, I think I want to use this up before I have problems with them. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the stars. And that gives me a fun motif, or a fun icon that I can kind of spread around the page now, along with my bears. And then I'm also going to use the camera from the top little card that I'm going to use here in a second. So I'm going to add 3 little spots of those foam stars, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach my stickers. And then we have fun, because I remember that this is an old book. My Sun School album is an old book. I'm trying to finish it because for this very reason. I did all this work on the layout, and then I had to scooch everything over and trim the end. I'm really, really glad though, because I was still able to stay true to the sketch, and I was able to just kind of like scooch everything over. Sometimes that could be a hard proposition, but I kind of made it work this time. So I know that top little piece up there, I need to add some pink. So I have kind of like this pink, aqua, navy, a little bit of navy in here, and then there's some other colors, but they're very little. So I'm going to go through the sticker book here, and I'm going to grab a couple of stickers to make sure that each of these little like clusters and pockets on this grid have what I need, have all the colors and all the different icons kind of represented. So I used the enamel dot stars, because I generally don't use enamel stars, but since I had the stars on this page, it made it easy for me to just kind of use up all the ones, both in pink and in the aqua. So again, going through, finding bears and adding them to my layout. I want to put that little bear in the middle, but I actually end up moving him and deciding on a camera instead, just because I didn't like the diagonal line of those bears. I wanted more of a triangle of them and less of that like diagonal kind of thing going on. So I'm going to move that bear up to by the camera. I'm thinking about another camera. I'm going to kind of fidget with the sticker book and try to, figure out what I want to do with everything here. I did end up kind of doing a diagonal then with the camera, And then I didn't like that, so I have to kind of rearrange what I'm doing with those. Yeah, I fidgeted just a little bit with this. And then I'm going to go back through the sticker book and grab this banner piece, and I'm going to pop it under here. And this is where I'm going to put my number. So I've been trying on each of these layouts to put a little bit of a hidden number on the page that shows what grade my son was in. So he was in 2nd grade for this picture. So I'm going to, if it's not obvious, like if I'm not putting, 2nd grade, I tried to put a little 2 somewhere on the layout. And that's just for me. These photos, I don't have a date for them. They're my son's field trip, and I did not go with him. But he had, his 2nd grade teacher was the absolute best, and she loved that I scrapbooked. She knew that I scrapbooked, so she had my text, and she would text me photos. So she texted me photos of field trips. She texted me photos of field day. It was awesome. I wish that all teachers were like her. All teachers of scrapbookers were like her. She was the best. So I'm just going to go ahead, and that will complete this layout. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out Eileen's Scrapmazing on Facebook and Scrapmazing on YouTube. And there's lots of people playing along with this sketch, so I hope you'll join in as well. Bye!